Hey, I'm Ellie. Until a couple of years back, my life was about as thrilling as watching paint dry. I worked as a sales consultant for some small tech firm. Nothing fancy, but it paid the bills. So there I was, at a buddy's house for his birthday bash. I stood awkwardly by the snack table, just scoping out the scene. Couldn't eat a thing, though. My damn peanut allergy had me treating every plate like it was a minefield. That's when Josh showed up. Guy was like the main event, you know? Everyone seemed to gravitate towards him the moment he walked in. He had this way of talking that made you feel like you were the only person in the room, even if it was packed. He caught me staring at the food, not touching anything. "What's with the standoff? Food's not gonna bite," he said, flashing a grin. "Yes, well, it might actually kill me," I shot back without thinking. "Nice, Ellie, scare off the charming guy." He paused, then laughed. "That serious, huh?" "Deadly serious. Peanut allergy. Can't risk it with anything I didn't make myself." He whistled, low and slow. "That's rough. So, you just watch everyone else eat at these shindigs?" "Pretty much. My life's a blast," I said, my words dripping with as much sarcasm as I could muster. Josh didn't miss a beat. "Well, hell, if it's any consolation, I'd starve with you just to keep you company." I laughed. It was a good line, sure, but it was the way he said it, like he meant it. That kind of directness, it caught me off guard, in a good way. "So, Josh, right? What's your story?" I asked, leaning against the table, curious about this guy who could make me forget about my allergies for a minute. "Yes, Josh. And my story's boring. Work at a big corporate gig, head up a department. It pays the bills, lets me buy expensive beers that I don't like all that much," he joked, holding up his drink. "Cheers to expensive tastes and bad beer," I said, raising an imaginary glass. We spent the rest of the party chatting about everything and nothing. Turns out, he was as tired of corporate life as I was of cautious eating. We vented, we laughed, and we swapped horror stories from our jobs. It felt easy. Easier than anything had felt in a long time. As the party wound down, he punched his number into my phone. "In case you ever want to not eat at another party together," he said, winking. After that party, life started moving at a pace I wasn't used to. Josh and I, we just clicked. It was like we'd known each other forever. We started seeing each other almost every other day, and before I knew it, a month had turned into 3, then 6. One chilly evening, we were at my place, sprawled on the couch with some takeout Thai food that Josh swore wouldn't kill me. I'd cooked rice, just in case, though. We were midway through some trashy TV show when he muted it, turning to me with that look he gets, like he's about to lay down some serious talk. "Ellie, I've been thinking," he started, and I felt my stomach twist a bit. "We've been doing this casual thing for a while, which is great, but I want more." His hand found mine, giving it a gentle squeeze. "More?" I echoed, feeling my heartbeat pick up. Was he saying what I think he was saying? Yes, more. Like, meet the families more. Serious more. He was nervous. I could tell by the way he wasn't quite meeting my eyes. I took a deep breath. Meeting families was big. It was the sort of thing you did when you were sure, or at least hoping to be sure. "Josh, are you sure? Because if we do this, I'm not into playing games. It's gotta be real." "It's real for me, Ellie. I want this. Us. For real," he said firmly, finally locking eyes with me. "All right then. Let's do it," I said, feeling a mix of excitement and nerves. "But if my mom starts planning the wedding on the first meet, it's on you." The weeks that followed were a blur of introductions and gatherings. His family was large and loud, a stark contrast to my quieter, more reserved folks. But somehow, it worked. Dinners, barbecues, birthdays, you name it, we were there together, and it felt right. One sunny afternoon, about 8 months into our whirlwind, Josh took me out to the park. We walked for a while, chatting about all the little things, until we reached a secluded spot by the lake. He stopped, took both my hands in his, and looked me dead in the eyes. "Ellie, these months with you, they've been the best of my life. I don't want this to end. I don't want to spend another day without knowing you're mine, for keeps." I was speechless, which, believe me, doesn't happen often. Before I could gather my wits, he was down on one knee, a small velvet box in hand. "Ellie, will you marry me?" The sincerity in his voice, the hopeful look in his eyes, it was all too much. "Yes," I burst out, more relieved than anything. I'd been hoping, but hearing it, seeing him there, made it real. The day of our wedding was a blur, but I remember the important parts. Josh's face when he saw me walking down the aisle, the way he held my hands during our vows, and the way everyone we loved cheered when we kissed as husband and wife. Josh had been climbing the corporate ladder, now head of his department at a big company, making good dough. He brought up the idea of me becoming a housewife. It wasn't a demand, more like a proposition. Said I wouldn't have to worry about work, could focus on starting our family, which we both wanted badly. Honestly, I was torn at first. I liked my job, liked the people, but the thought of being a full-time mom, raising our kids, it was tempting, really tempting. After a lot of talking, and I mean a lot, we decided I'd take the leap. "If that's what you want, babe, I'm all for it. Let's make a bunch of mini-us's," he said one night, making me laugh through the seriousness of it all. The night of Josh's company party was supposed to be a blast. Dressed up and ready, I was kind of excited to see where he worked and meet the folks he always talked about. The venue was flashy, one of those high-end places that look like they cost a fortune to rent for an evening. We walked in, and right away, Josh was in his element, shaking hands, cracking jokes, introducing me as his better half. I clung to his arm, a bit overwhelmed by the swarm of people but warmed by how proudly he introduced me. "Ellie, this is going to be good. Stick with me, and we'll have a great time," he whispered as we navigated through the crowd. I was doing okay, sipping on a soda, when Josh got pulled away by some colleagues. That's when I saw her, Chloe, the CEO's daughter. She was hard to miss, the way everyone seemed to orbit around her. Blonde, tall, with a laugh that carried over the crowd. She saw Josh and beeline toward him. Curiosity got the better of me, so I edged closer to hear what was so funny. "Josh, it's been ages. How are you?" Chloe's voice was like honey, sweet and thick. "Hey, Chloe. I'm good, thanks. Ellie, my wife, was here a second ago. I'll introduce you when she comes back," Josh said, scanning the crowd for me. "Oh, married life. How's that treating you?" she asked, her hand casually brushing his arm. "It's great, couldn't be happier," Josh replied, catching my eye as I approached. "There you are, Ellie. Meet Chloe, our CEO's daughter. Chloe, this is my wife, Ellie." Josh introduced us with a smile. Chloe turned her charm on me. "Nice to meet you, Ellie. I've heard a lot about you. You snagged one of our best, huh?" "Trying to," I joked, but I felt a bit uneasy about her touchy-feely vibe. As the evening wore on, I noticed Josh and Chloe chatting more. They even danced a couple of times. It started to bug me, the way she laughed at his jokes, touched his arm, the way he didn't seem to mind. I pulled Josh aside after their third dance. "Do you want to maybe stick with me for the next dance? Save me from the boring small talk," I suggested, half teasing, half serious. "Sure thing, babe. After I grab us some drinks, I'm all yours," he promised, but as he walked away, Chloe caught him again, and they got swept up in another conversation. Left on my own, I tried to mingle, but the snippets of conversation I caught weren't reassuring. Chloe's dad adores her, you know. And she's not just some ex kid, she's the heir to all this, someone said, gesturing broadly at the lavish decorations. As we drove home later that night, the car filled with a tense silence. I stared out the window, lost in thought, while Josh kept glancing over, trying to gauge my mood. Everything okay, Ellie? You've been quiet, he finally asked. It's okay. Long night, I replied, my voice flat. But it wasn't okay. Something had shifted tonight, and as I lay in bed later, staring at the ceiling, I couldn't shake the image of Josh with Chloe. It was just a party, but it felt like a warning sign, one I wasn't sure I could ignore. After that company party, things between Josh and me cooled off so much it felt like we were drifting on an ice floe. It was like a switch had flipped. Maybe I was being paranoid, but the more I thought about Josh and Chloe dancing and laughing together, the more I couldn't shake off the feeling that something was off. One evening, a few weeks after the party, Josh came home late from work, looking worn out and less than thrilled to see me waiting up for him. Another late night? I asked, trying to keep my voice casual as he slumped into a chair. Yeah, big project. Lots to do, he mumbled, barely looking at me as he kicked off his shoes and rubbed his face. I sighed, leaning against the kitchen counter. You've been saying that a lot lately. Big projects every night, huh? Josh's head snapped up, his eyes narrowing. What's that supposed to mean, Ellie? Nothing. It's just, you're home late a lot. And we barely talk anymore, I said, feeling my frustration bubble up. Feels like you're always busy or tired. He stood up abruptly, his tone harsher than before. Well, I'm sorry for trying to make a living, Ellie. Not all of us have the luxury of staying at home all day. I stood there, stunned. Tears pricked at my eyes. This wasn't us. We didn't fight like this. We used to be a team. Now, I felt like I was living with a stranger. When I found out I was pregnant, a part of me was over the moon thinking it might just bridge the gap between us, bring back the warmth we'd lost. I remember telling him, all nervous with excitement, waiting to see that big grin he used to have. But instead, Josh looked like he'd been slapped. Ellie, are you serious? Right now? His voice was sharp, cutting. Yes, I'm serious. We're going to have a baby, Josh. Isn't this what we wanted? I tried to smile, reaching out for him. He stepped back, rubbing the back of his neck, looking anywhere but at me. It's just, we're not ready, Ellie. This timing, it's not good. My heart sank. Not ready? But you said. I know what I said, but think about it. Maybe it's better if we consider other options. You know, not go through with it. His words hit me like a gut punch. Other options? You mean an abortion? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This was the man who'd talked about wanting a whole soccer team of kids. Yes, Ellie, maybe. We need to think about this logically, he insisted, his tone cold. Logically? We talked about this, dreamed about this. I even quit my job for this, Josh. I was yelling now, anger flushing my face. He didn't yell back. Just shook his head, muttered something about needing some air, and left me standing there, stunned and alone. As my belly grew, so did the distance between us. Josh started coming home late more often, and some weekends, he just wasn't around. He'd throw out excuses like they were going out of style. One evening when he got home, I tried to talk to him about nursery colors, hoping to lighten the mood, get him involved. He barely glanced up from his phone. Does it matter? Whatever you pick is fine, Ellie. It matters to me, Josh. It should matter to you, too. I shot back, frustration simmering. He sighed, put his phone down with a thud. Look, Ellie, I'm tired. I work all day, and I come home, and it's just more demands. Can't you handle these things? What do you even do all day? His words stung, and I felt my defenses rise. What do I do? I'm carrying your child, Josh. I'm trying to make a home here. A home? More like you're just living off me, he snapped, his voice harsh. That hurt. We'd never been like this, so harsh, so cruel. I couldn't understand how we'd gotten to this point. Is that what you think of me now? That I'm just some freeloader. He didn't answer, just stormed off to the other room, leaving me there, tears starting to fall. Josh's birthday rolled around, and he planned a dinner at some swanky restaurant downtown and made sure to invite a bunch of his work buddies, and, to my dismay, Chloe was on that list. I tried to keep a cool head as we got ready, my stomach twisting into knots. Josh seemed more energized than he'd been in months, fussing over his appearance with an enthusiasm I hadn't seen in a while. "You're really going all out, huh?" I noted, trying to keep my tone light as he adjusted his tie in the mirror. "Yes, why not? It's been a rough year. Could use a bit of fun, don't you think?" He barely met my eye in the reflection. "Sure," I replied, my voice flat, as I adjusted my dress, not really feeling myself. At the restaurant, the atmosphere was buzzing, filled with his colleagues and that inevitable presence of Chloe, who flitted around Josh like she was the hostess. I hung back, picking at my food, which I had interrogated the waiter about thoroughly to avoid any allergy mishaps. Chloe eventually slid into the seat next to me, her smile a bit too practiced. "Ellie, right? Josh tells us you've got quite the chef's touch. Must be hard avoiding all those foods, though." "It's manageable," I said, keeping my guard up. "Have to be careful, though. One wrong dish could end badly for me." "Sounds terrifying," she replied, her tone suggesting more curiosity than concern. "I mean, how do you even trust restaurants with that kind of allergy?" "I usually don't," I confessed. "But tonight's an exception. Special occasion and all." She nodded, looking thoughtful, then turned her attention back to the party, laughing at something one of Josh's friends said. I watched them, feeling like an outsider in my own marriage. As the evening wore on, Josh seemed to drift further away, both physically and emotionally, his laughter with Chloe a painful echo across the busy restaurant. My heart felt heavy, the joy of earlier birthdays long forgotten. After the main course, a couple of Josh's friends clinked their glasses, starting an impromptu roast of him. The jokes were light, fun, but when it was Chloe's turn, her words felt like a thinly veiled flirtation. "Here's to Josh, who always manages to keep his projects, and his project managers, perfectly satisfied. It's a skill," she toasted, her gaze fixed on him with a smirk. The table erupted in laughter, but the words stung, her insinuation clear. I felt my face flush, anger and embarrassment gnawing in my stomach. Later, when Josh opened his gifts, Chloe handed him a sleek, expensive-looking pen set, her fingers lingering over his as she did. "For all your hard contracts and the soft ones too," she said, winking at him. I couldn't take it anymore. I stood up, mumbling an excuse about needing fresh air, and walked out. Josh didn't even notice, he was too busy laughing at another joke. Being 5 months pregnant meant my sleep schedule was all over the place. Some nights, I was out like a light, but others, like tonight, I tossed and turned with insomnia weighing heavy on my eyelids. Finally giving up on sleep, I shuffled into the kitchen to grab some milk, hoping it might soothe me back to dreamland. As I passed the living room, Josh's voice halted me mid-step. He was talking on the phone, his words loud and clear in the quiet of our home. Normally, I wouldn't eavesdrop, but the tone of his voice, soft yet intense, wasn't meant for my ears. "Yes, I love you too. No, she's been asleep for hours," he murmured, a tenderness in his voice I hadn't heard directed at me in months. My heart sank as I realized who must be on the other end. The response was a voice I recognized instantly, one that made my blood run cold. "Chloe. Just make sure you do it soon, babe. Swap the pasta like we talked about. Once it's done, we'll be free." My breath hitched. Free? What were they planning? Josh's voice dropped even lower, a conspiratorial whisper that sent shivers down my spine. I know. I'm tired of all this, too. It'll look like an accident. She won't suspect a thing. Tears blurred my vision as the realization hit me like a freight train. They were plotting to kill me, to make it look like an allergic reaction. And the worst part? He mentioned not needing me or the baby anymore. A bitter laugh escaped my lips, muffled by my hand. So much for the loving husband. Silently, I crept back to the bedroom, my mind racing with shock and fear. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, planning my next move. As soon as the sun peeked through the curtains, and I heard Josh's car pull out of the driveway, I sprung into action. Tearing through his things felt surreal, like a scene from a crime show. But there it was, hidden at the back of the pantry, a pack of my usual gluten-free pasta, but heavier. I opened it to find it was loaded with finely ground peanuts, perfectly prepared to send me into anaphylactic shock. My hands shook as I replaced the deadly package with a safe one, a similar box, but free of peanuts. A couple of days after I swapped out the tampered pasta, Josh woke up early and headed to the kitchen. That morning, he was unusually chipper, humming to himself as he boiled water and prepared pasta. He brought it over with a bright, unsettling smile. "Made you breakfast, babe," he said, setting the plate in front of me with a flourish. "Pasta with your favorite sauce." I eyed him, noticing how his gaze didn't stray from my face. He was waiting for a reaction. Playing along, I forked a small bite into my mouth, chewed, and then clutched at my throat, feigning distress. "Oh my God, Josh, I can't breathe," I gasped, standing up abruptly from the table. My hands flew to my neck, mimicking the all-too-familiar panic of an allergic reaction. Josh's response was chilling. Instead of rushing to help, he laughed, a cold, heartless sound that echoed off the kitchen walls. "You think I don't know? I put the peanuts in there, Ellie." I stared at him, feigning confusion and terror, trying to keep him talking. "Why?" I managed to choke out, still playing my part. "Because I can't stand you anymore. I don't want you or the baby. It's over. I want to be with Chloe, not stuck with you, dragging me down. And I'm not about to lose half of everything and get nailed for alimony and child support." He spat out, the words venomous and deliberate. His confession poured out, each word more monstrous than the last. He admitted everything, his affair, his disdain for our life together, and his plot to kill me to avoid a messy divorce. As he ranted, my phone, carefully positioned on the counter, recorded every word. At the end of his vile speech, he coolly added, "I'm off to work. That'll be my alibi." After he left, I made sure the recording was clear and intact. My hands shook, and my heart raced, not from fear of the poison, but from what I'd just confirmed about the man I once loved. I called the police immediately, my voice steady as I explained what had happened. Within minutes, police cars arrived, and I handed them the evidence, the recording from my phone and the remaining peanut-laced pasta, still on the plate. The officers listened to the recording with grim faces, their eyes occasionally flicking to my belly, then to the door Josh had walked out of not 30 minutes before. Josh was arrested at his office, his alibi useless against the concrete evidence of his intent to kill. The news spread, and soon, everyone knew the kind of man he really was. The final gavel echoed through the courtroom, a sound that felt like the closing of a heavy door on a dark chapter of my life. The judge had just handed down the verdict. Both Josh and Chloe were sentenced to substantial time behind bars for their conspiracy and attempted murder. In addition, the court awarded me $500,000 in compensation for the trauma and potential danger I had been subjected to. Half of that money came directly from Chloe's wealthy parents, who seemed eager to settle and move past the scandal. The other half was settled by Josh in a more painful currency. He signed over the house to me, ensuring our son and I would have a secure place to live. In the quiet that followed the storm of the trial, which had been all over the news, I managed to finalize my divorce from Josh. It was a relief to sever those ties legally and emotionally. Not long after, I gave birth to our son, a beautiful little boy who brought light into the shadows that had lingered around my life. One afternoon, as I was adjusting to my new routine as a single mother, I received a call from Josh's parents. They had always been kind to me, and the situation had put them in an impossible position between their son and me. "Ellie, we just want to say we're so sorry for everything Josh did," his mom said, her voice cracking with emotion over the phone. His dad added, "We'd like to be part of our grandson's life, if you'll allow it. We'll understand if it's too much." I took a moment, watching my son sleeping peacefully in his crib. I think he should know his grandparents, I replied. You were always good to me. I wouldn't want to take that away from him because of what Josh did. Life slowly started to find a new normal. The money from the settlement helped, but it was the safety and security of knowing Josh and Chloe couldn't hurt us that truly allowed me to breathe easier. I began to focus on rebuilding not just a life for myself but a happy, healthy environment for my son.